Now, from the University of Okoboji, it's Okoboji Broadcast with Jeff Thee.
Welcome to Okoboji Broadcast, everybody. I'm Jeff Thee, coming to you from the Man Cave, and it is Women of Action Thursday, and I have one of those right here with me, Dr. Chrissy Soole, Synergy Chiropractic and Acupuncture. We like to get in there as well. Doctor, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, you know, you're a hometown girl, but you, in course of your career,
Yep.
You went to school at Kansas.
Yep, Kansas State.
Kansas State, a nemesis of Iowa State. I have
know.
to.
And then I transferred to Iowa State.
Yeah, you're a good kid.
Yeah.
And you were a runner there. You ran track.
Yep, at Kansas State.
Yeah. But then, what made you decide chiropractic? What interested you about that?
Yeah. Well, my mom always brought me to the chiropractor, and I think it just helped me. I played a lot of sports growing up,
Yes.
so it helped prevent injuries and things like that. And then I actually job shadowed my chiropractor, Dr. Dixon, in high school. And I kind of just decided that that's what I wanted to do. I was very intrigued by it and very fascinated by it. And I knew I wanted to be up and kind of physical and moving around. So I just never changed my mind, luckily.
Yeah, and you know that's quite unusual.
I know,
right?
Right? Especially for me. I always change my mind. So I stuck
That's a
with
woman's
it.
prerogative, isn't it?
know.
And that's not sexist. I've had 3 girls. I can say that.
Yeah, we are indecisive.
But, you know, a lot of kids, 16, 17, think this is the course I want to go. They get into college, they change their major, 3 times over 4 years, and then they get into the work world, and, this is not what I expected. So it's pretty cool that early on you knew.
Yes, I feel very lucky that I kind of stuck with it, and I'm glad that I did because I love what I do. So, very thankful.
So at Kansas State, what was your field of study there then?
I studied kinesiology, applied kinesiology.
Okay.
And then transferring to Iowa State, basically the same thing. But I eventually, all of my classes transferred up to Northwestern, my chiropractic school. So I actually graduated from Northwestern with my undergraduate of human sciences.
Right.
So.
And you had the opportunity, while in school, I mean, you do your, what's the word I'm looking for?
Practicals or...
Yeah, that's it, right? Practicals.
Yep.
And,
Yep. In undergraduate, it was a lot of science classes.
Yeah.
A lot of organic chemistry, unfortunately.
Well.
A lot of tough science classes. And then once you get up to chiropractic school, it's very focused on just human anatomy in a lot of the labs and focusing on chiropractic technique. And, it's all across the board, but a lot of schooling.
Yeah, right.
A lot of schooling.
And appropriately so. You're a doctor, and a lot of schooling goes with that. Now, upon graduating from chiropractic school, you didn't come right back to the Iowa Great Lakes.
No, I kind of danced around the United States for a little bit. I went to Las Vegas right after I graduated from chiropractic school up in Minneapolis. I actually did my final internship in Las Vegas, when I was a student, and that turned into a job for me, luckily. So they hired me on at Align Chiropractic, and I worked there for 3 years. So I was a lead chiropractor at an office, mainly focusing on personal injury. And then we moved to Denver and lived in Denver for a couple of years. And I worked at a facility called Fox Integrated Healthcare. Okay. Obviously, I more so focused on chiropractic and adjusting patients, but the facility focused on functional medicine, regenerative medicine, stem cell injections, things like that. So it was cool to see that as well.
Well, yeah, it certainly had to have opened your horizons a bit of what all could be done in a clinic like that.
Yep. It was pretty cool to see.
So, what made you decide, by golly, I'm a Okoboji girl, Spirit Lake girl, I want to get back to the Lakes region?
I think I just kind of missed, Iowa started calling my name after about 12 years of being gone and bouncing around to different cities. I kind of explored that, and it was great, and I loved every single place that I've lived, but there's something about this area that's very special. My family lives here. My friends live here. My husband's from Sioux City. So it was actually a pretty easy decision somehow. When we both were on the same page of I think it's time to move back home. And this area provided me an opportunity to open up my own practice too. So,
and that's what I was going to ask next. I mean, obviously, you probably could have worked into somebody else's practice and started out that way, but the decision was made, I'm going to have my own place.
Yeah.
Was that tough? Was that a tough decision?
It was. It was kind of scary
Yeah.
because there's a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
And still, owning your own business is obviously it can be very difficult at times, but it's a growing process.
Yeah.
And I think over time, I just developed up enough confidence to feel like, all right, I've seen enough working for other people. I'm ready to do my own thing. And I felt very strongly about that at the time.
Yeah.
So.
And that's how long ago now that you started?
I opened up in 2019.
Okay.
So about 2.5 years ago now.
Right.
Yep.
And through a pandemic.
Through a pandemic, too.
Everything,
I know.
yeah, exactly.
So crazy.
So with all the experience you had working at those other clinics, Vegas and Colorado and everything, how did you decide what you were going to focus on in Chrissy's clinic? As far as with, what were you going to focus in different areas and so forth?
Yeah. I think what I always come back to is what I would like out of a treatment, like if I went somewhere.
Right.
And so I think that's why every office is a little bit different, because probably every owner feels that way.
Right. Yeah, right.
Like they kind of gravitate towards different types of treatments or what they want to spend time on or what they think they can most effectively do for a patient.
Right.
So for me, that just so happens to be obviously chiropractic, because that's what I am trained in, acupuncture, because that's also what I studied up at chiropractic school.
Right.
And I do tend to spend a little bit more time on muscle therapies, ultrasound, e-stim, cupping, Graston. I just find that people do better faster and their treatments last longer.
Well, again, and you're an athlete, and if someone comes in having had an injury or something's out of place because of track, football, basketball, you name it.
Yeah.
You have a deeper understanding because you've been there. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. And we, nowadays people are very inflamed, unfortunately. So I think it's important to address the inflammation overall of a specific joint, which the adjustment portion and getting things leveled out and balanced is so important.
Right.
But also I just feel like I could do more as well. And that's kind of where the muscle therapies and the acupuncture can come into play too.
Right. And you mentioned acupuncture and are there misconceptions? If people hear that word acupuncture, do alarm bells go off in their head? And that's needles. I don't want needles.
That's usually it. It's the needle thing.
Yeah.
Like people are either like terrified of needles or they just think it's going to be so painful, and that is a main misconception.
Yeah.
But most of my patients are like, I can't believe that it's not more painful.
Yeah.
It's like the needles are super teeny tiny. And most of the time I have the patient laying face down so they don't even see them.
Right.
So that's like the number one thing that they're just like so perplexed by is like, I thought this was going to be painful.
Yeah.
And it's really not. It's actually a very relaxing experience.
Mm-hmm.
And also the number one thing that my patients where they just start acupuncture tell me is like they leave the room and they're like, I can't believe how relaxing that was.
Yeah.
And there is something to that. There's a lot of science that shows how acupuncture can affect your nervous system directly. So basically we have kind of two types of nervous systems within an autonomic nervous system, and it's like the fight or flight versus the rest and digest.
Right. Okay.
So there's a lot of science that shows how actually adjustments and chiropractic can bring you into that parasympathetic nervous system state, like the rest and digest part, which not a lot of things in our lives, in our stressful lives through the last couple of years can bring us into that state because life has become very stressful.
Indeed.
So that's why I think it's pretty important nowadays to find a healthy way to de-stress and a healthy way to kind of get into that part of our nervous system that we don't really tap into.
Yeah.
And that's also why it works.
Yeah.
That's why it can be so effective.
Well, and I'm not breaking any HIPAA laws if I say you've done acupuncture on me. As long as I say it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But it is. It's relaxing, and often when you've done a correction on me and then acupuncture, I mean, the relief is immediate. And I'm one of those persons, I will fight taking a pill
Right.
An ibuprofen or aspirin. If I absolutely, I'd rather tough it out and see if things work themselves out.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about your procedures and the acupuncture, not doing that.
Right.
And you get the relief, and it's long term too.
And most of it is immediate. And that's what I love to hear too, is when people, before they leave the door, they're like, oh, I feel so much better.
Yeah.
Like, that makes me feel so good, because sometimes it's like you're hobbling out and you're sore and you're like, oh, this is going to take a couple days to settle in. I try to avoid that. Of course, sometimes it's inevitable.
Yeah, sometimes you need to repeat it, but you also don't do that where, you set it up, well, I'll see you twice a week for 6 months, and, you go with what their needs are.
Right. Yep.
And
it's not a cookie cutter approach. It's kind of what each patient needs, and kind of I take it 1 week at a time, basically.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. And I've had the cupping and everything else. And
yeah, we've done it all on you, haven't we?
I think we have. when you have older patients, doctor,
you got to try it all.
You got to try it all. And the practice is going well. It's growing, and I know you're busy. And
yeah, I think I don't have any complaints. I'm very happy with being where I'm at. We're in a beautiful location right next to your wife.
Yeah,
actually, too.
That's right. Yes,
we have the lake right in front of us, and word of mouth referrals. Obviously, there's no better compliment than that, and so that's essentially what it's been.
So, and you're glad you made the move, and you started your own clinic and your own practice, and
super grateful, and I'm just grateful to be in Iowa in general.
Yeah.
So
it is. It's in the Iowa Great Lakes. People are great, and like I said, we have beautiful natural resources. But it's nice to live in a nice, safe place.
Yes,
with great people.
It is,
and it's nice that you and your husband Jeff are part of that as well.
Yes. Yep. Very happy to be here, and happy to get to reconnect with you too.
Yeah, exactly. I watched you grow up and play basketball and all that stuff. So, all right, Dr. Chrissy Soole, thank you for spending time with us. Thank you for being a woman of action in the Iowa Great Lakes.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's my pleasure indeed, Dr. Chrissy Soole. Again, Synergy Chiropractic and Acupuncture, and it's in the what's it called?
Okoboji Plaza.
Okoboji
is what
Plaza.
It's called.
My wife's there, and I didn't know that.
That's okay.
right
5B Radiant.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Outrigger.
Just look for the Outrigger, and you'll find both of those guys. So anyway, we want to thank her for joining us, and we thank you for watching us right here on Okoboji Broadcast. Okoboji Broadcast from the studios at historic Arnold's Park Amusement Park is brought to you in part by the Scott Troutman State Farm Agency in Spirit Lake, Quest Wealth Management, a financial advisory practice of Ameriprise Financial Services, advisor Jan Spielman, AJ Spielman, and Erica Wachholz, Ducky's Marine and Motorsports Repair in Spirit Lake, Bank Midwest, dream big, plan wisely, live well. Lakes Regional Healthcare and Avera Partner. Ruthven Locker at the Lake, where carnivores are welcome on Hill Avenue in Spirit Lake. Beck Engineering in Spirit Lake. B Radiant Laser Skin Studio in the Okoboji Plaza in Okoboji.